Frontline with Courtney Kenny, and I'm Tom Parisi, and today we got a great set of guests. It's another episode of your Frontline podcast. I'm Tom Parisi, he's Courtney Kenny, and today we are joined by he covers many hats with your North Bay Battalion, Senior of Marketing Development, or Business Development as well. It's Johnny Mac. John McLellan, welcome to the show. First time or two. I love when we get that.
Wow, unbelievable. I know you guys have been on the air for some time now, and you guys do an outstanding job on the podcast earlier and now on YouTube and whatnot. And it's great for the fans, and you guys do an outstanding job. So it's nice to finally be here.
Thank you.
We do aim to please.
There you go.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right into it, because when we talked on the phone yesterday, we were kind of like, what do you want to talk about? You're a man who has been around the OHL in North Bay for a long time. Not that we're trying to make you feel old or anything, but
Hey.
why don't
I didn't think I was old until you said that. But okay.
Well, you're still spry. We see you running around on game day. You don't stop. This man does not stop. But anyways, can you tell us the story of how you first got involved way back with the Centennials?
Well, actually, I took broadcasting at Canada College in North Bay and wanted to make it a career in broadcasting. And during that time, I ended up doing Centennial games on Cogeco Cable 12 with Vince Calichuri, and then took the broadcasting program at Canada and worked for MCTV, where Jeff Turrell was my boss. So, involved in the broadcasting field, and decided to kind of get out of it after a while, and took sports administration at Durham College in Oshawa, and then, worked for the league for a bit. And it was there while I was at the league, there were 15 teams in the OHL, and I decided that I was going to leave the league and try and work for a member team, and applied for every team in the OHL, including North Bay, and had an interview in Sault Ste. Marie with the Greyhounds, and an interview in North Bay with the Centennials in 1987, and ended up being hired by John Hopper and working with Bert Templeton, and we had a great 14-year run together. It was awesome.
No doubt. That's a long time to hang out with a team. Maybe on the inside looking in, what was it like when the Centennials left?
Well, you know what? I look at it and go, when the Centennials left, it was like somebody took my heart out and stomped on it. Like it was brutal. I'd had a parting with the team about a year before, so I wasn't really there at the end because of some changes that were made in the organization and whatnot. And it was sad for North Bay, because so many people had spent their time watching Centennials hockey, and during the cold winter months, it gave them something to do. And I tell you what, we had some very successful teams playing out of North Bay, and players that went on to the NHL, and Billy Holer and Derek Turcotte and Vitaly Yashmanev and Adam Burt and Sean Antosky. And, we had some great players that came in and out of North Bay. And I mean, it's very tough to win in the Ontario Hockey League. It's very tough to win when you're a small market team. And North Bay was a small market team, and we're lucky enough to win the OHL championship in 1994.
Well, can you take us through that whole entire run? Especially Tom wasn't in the city at that point. I was a whole year old. So just kind of give us an inside look at that 94 championship run.
It was an amazing run. I mean, we played hockey, during the course of the year, had a very successful year, went into the playoffs, had some great rounds during the playoffs. When it came to the finals, we lost at home in game 5 and had to win in Detroit in game 6 to send it to a game 7 in North Bay. We won in Detroit and came back to North Bay in front of a sold out North Bay Memorial Gardens. And really what a night it was. May 11th, 1994. It was, Bert Templeton's birthday. He turned 54 on that day. We won by the score of 5-4 in overtime, and Memorial Gardens roof popped up and the city went into a frenzy, and it was an unbelievable night. And the emotion from that game continued on for a long time in the city of North Bay.
So we've had some former players on. You helped us get Nick Kiprios on, which was great. John Winstanley played for Bert Templeton in Sudbury and stuff. But we've heard from the player side of things. But as someone who worked with him, what was Bert Templeton like?
You know what? He was tough, but he was also very demanding. But if you did your job, he had a lot of respect for you. And if you did your role as a hockey player, he had a lot of respect for you as well. And I mean, one of the things with myself, I guess I was 22 years old when I started with the Centennials as director of marketing and public relations, and I'd really applied for a different job with the hockey club. And 2 days later, the marketing director quit, and it was Rob DeGagne, who was captain of the Centennials at one time. And I mean, so I said to John Hopper, I said, well, I'll take that job. And he goes, well, have you ever done marketing before? And I said, no. Before? And I said, no. And I decided I would try it. And you know what? It was a lot of fun. But I mean, for that first year, I ended up living at home with my mom at the corner of O'Brien and High. And luckily today she's still alive and still living there. But you had long days, but I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. And you work to get the job done, because in those days I was dealing with the players, the parents, media, scouts, NHL, promotions and selling. But it was a lot of fun. But I looked at Bert Templeton as a guy I could lean on, because they'd won a championship in Niagara Falls. He was a legend in the Ontario Hockey League, and he could give you a lot of advice. And John Hopper, Hopper Pontiac Buick at the time, very successful businessman who took a chance on a young kid, and we worked together, and it was absolutely awesome. And the thing about it is, like, with Bert, we kind of shared a very small office. There were three of us in the office, and imagine what a coach is like on game day. But can you imagine what a coach is like on a game day when they lose? And he would come back to the office after a game and slam the door and be mad, and then be sitting there like that, and the secretary would be too. And then one day I think he saw our reaction. The next day he came in and said, guys, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at those guys over there, because we lost. He had mood swings and what like that, but he always tried to get the best out of his players. He always tried to get the best out of his employees, and we became very good friends. And I was going to the Memorial Cup in Seattle, and going to the NHL draft in Hartford and Boston and Montreal. And I was lucky enough to go there with my wife Pam at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, even before. And Pam and Sandy Templeton became very good friends. So it made it a good working environment. So we would go to those events, and the wives could go out and do their thing, and Bert and I could go to the events around hockey and whatnot. So we became very good friends along the way, and while working together at the same time, and it was awesome.
Man, as a Bruins fan, that must have been awesome going to Boston for the draft.
Well, it was awesome. But I mean, one of the things that the Boston story I could tell with the hockey team was when I started with it's actually a couple of things, but one was our team colors were black, gold, and white, but the gold was kind of a yellow. And in those days, you kept your jerseys for a couple of years. And, Bert found out I was a Bruin fan and whatnot. And so when we came time to order the jerseys for my first time in there, I changed it from black, yellow, and gold, or black, yellow, and white to a black, gold, and white to look more like the Bruins. And the jerseys came in and they were identical to the Bruins, except they had a Centennial logo on it. And Bert looked at it and goes, what the heck are these? Like, gold is different. And as soon as he said that, he goes, damn it, McLellan, you're a Bruin fan, aren't you? That's why you did it. And I go, yep. We kind of went to the Bruin style as opposed to the Pittsburgh style. So, and we just ran with it, and it worked out pretty good. And then later on, again, finding out that I was a Bruin fan, but, the Niagara Falls Flyers were at one time the farm team of the Boston Bruins, and they were, affiliated and whatnot. And the equipment trunk that the Niagara Falls Flyers used in Niagara when Bert was there had it right on it, property of the Boston Bruins. So a couple of years later, Bert called me and invited me to his house, and there was the equipment trunk in his garage, and he gave it to me, and I still have it. So it's actually pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I couldn't imagine if you were like a Phoenix Coyote fan or something at the time, what the Centennials might have looked like, or Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, exactly. So it turned out pretty good. And you know what, even we went to the pants where the Bruins were one of the teams in the NHL that didn't have any white stripes in their pants. They were black, and other teams had stripes. And, we copied that sort of thing in North Bay, because from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, they thought that black was more intimidating. So we went with that. So yeah, there was a little Boston Bruins stuff in the North Bay Centennials, but I think when it was all said and done, everybody was okay with it.
Now, how much input nowadays do you have on jerseys and colors and things like that?
Yeah, I really don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot to say. You know, I sometimes, you know, wish I did, but I mean, when you get into your theme jersey nights, like, you know, pink in the rink or your military night and whatnot, Mike Griffin has a good handle on that stuff, and, you know, you'll do your input and whatnot. But, you know, I think Adam or Ryan Houlihan said it right. Like, you know, you bleed green, and he wore it in Brampton, and his first cars were Battalion green. His kids wore camouflage. I think it's a unique and a different name, and a unique and a different logo that I think that you know, some people say either love or hate it, but I think more people probably love it than hate it. And it's I think we're lucky to have it. And we're lucky to have Scott Abbott as an owner who has invested in all that stuff. And the team is back, and let's go with it and have some fun.
It's funny that you talk about either people love it or they hate it, because I remember at the start of the pandemic, a gentleman on YouTube who rates jerseys all the time went through the entire OHL and he rated the Battalion green as number one.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you don't hear that a lot, you know, especially kind of around Northern Ontario and whatnot. But, you know, I think the fans have grown to love it. And, you know, you can go to the malls or you go to the grocery stores on the weekend and you come to the games, and a lot of fans are wearing the jersey and wearing the clothing and whatnot. And, you know, maybe it took a while, but I think it definitely is catching on now, and more people wearing the Battalion apparel.
The best thing about it is you can't miss it ever.
No.
Like, you know exactly what you're looking at from 4 miles down the road to, hey, is that even the back of the jersey without seeing the logo? You kind of, I know who that is.
Absolutely, Tom. It's like it's very unique, and it stands out with the chevrons and name of North Bay on the shoulders, and you know, Sarge on the front. And I mean, it's a unique logo, and I think, you know, the Battalion moving to North Bay from Brampton fit in with the huge military presence in North Bay that was here years ago, and, you know, to a certain extent today as well. And I myself, I love it. I wear it every day.
Speaking of jerseys and inputs and all that stuff, did you have much input in the Centennials redesign in the late 90s there with the angry conductor logo that came out, or was that someone else?
Absolutely. Like we did in that day, I was the only marketing guy. We didn't have a sales guy or anything, but we did a promotion and decided to come out with 3 different concepts. The first concept really for that cartoonish character for the Centennials had a black eye on it. And myself and the owners, we kind of approved it. We wanted to go with that, submitted it to the league. David Branch looked at it and goes, "Great logo, I like it, but we got to take the black eye out of the mascot and whatnot." So we took the black eye out of it and kind of ran with it. But in that case, what we really did is we had a contest with our fans, and the fans chose it themselves. So, you know, once we launched it and whatnot, away we went, and it worked out well for retail store sales and whatnot. But when it's all said and done, I think I love the original Centennials logo as opposed to the one at the end, and I think that's the logo that really resonates with the fans.
I gotta ask, since you, well, I mean, when we talked on the phone, you said you've been, well, proof is you already said it, 14 years at the team, and the team was only here in North Bay for 20, so that's pretty impressive. But do you remember towards the end of the run with the Centennials, there was a bear mascot with it had conductor overalls? Okay, I'm so glad that you do, because I bring this story up to a lot of people. I played Timbits hockey, and we came out and did the intermission or whatever, and I fell, and then next thing, the bear's picking me up, and I'm the only one that has ever seemed to remember this bear mascot.
Yeah, there was, and I mean that came out from the president of the hockey team when I was gone from the team for that 1.5 years. And the mascot, and it's kind of totally ironic, is the same mascot they had with the Bruins at the time, and the mascot here, Boxcar. And it had nothing, like, they called it Boxcar to do with the train and the railroad, because the Centennials were named after 100 years of rail. And it was a great logo in the way of the track and the wheels that formed the pucks and whatnot. Yeah, but there was an additional logo, our mascot, besides Casey Jones, and his name was Boxcar.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not insane for remembering that, because like I said, I'm like this 7-year-old kid. I'm on the ice, and the next thing, these big hairy arms are just picking me up, and I'm like, what is happening right now? So I'm glad I'm not insane.
That's where sometimes I think that the organization, the Centennials near the end, got away from the identity around the railroad and the trains and the history in North Bay, and came out with some kind of goofy things that I think didn't work. But you got to try some things, because in those days the attendance was really going down, and you had to try and do some things to get the fans back in the building.
Speaking of which, how hard is it? Like, challenges facing a junior hockey team marketing wise? What stuff you go through on the daily to try and, even sometimes just get by, or even what are some of the limitations in your promotions?
Yeah. Well, the hardest part right now, Tom, is that, a lot of people don't want to come to the game and wear a mask for 2.5 hours. And I mean, we went through a stage at the beginning of the year where, for a game, you could have 1,000 people, and then you could open up to something like 2,130, and then it was full capacity. Well, at the time, we didn't know where we were headed for this year. So as an example, in October, we would have had a promotion, with Royal LePage, which we ended up doing, but you'd sell another 300 tickets in group sales. Community Living did an October promotion every year. I canceled that to back in February. You stop for the school bus with, kind of on the memory of Adam Ranger, we put off to later on in the year. And another promotion we did as well, because we couldn't do anything to create excitement on the ice because we couldn't do on-ice promotions. We couldn't do anything to generate excitement in the building because we couldn't do those. And we couldn't get group sales. So right now, that's kind of our focus right now, is to get some bums back in the seats and do some promotions, at the building, and reach out to the community for group sales, because we really need more people attending our games. And it's a struggle right now, and it's even that struggle at the NHL level. I think the Leafs went through the first 3 games of the year where they didn't sell out, which is unheard of in Toronto. Yep. But it is a bit of a difficult time right now. We're not making excuses, but I think we'll get there.
I think part of it too is people are a little bit hesitant to get back into those big group settings at the start of it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of it. But I mean, things are really opened up now, and I mean, we play on October 28th, coming up Thursday this week, and then we don't play at home again until November 14th. Are we keeping you up there, Tom? Or
no, we're all good. Okay. Pardon me.
Then we don't play the game, until November 14th. It's like 17 days, right? So, we have time to really work on some groups and whatnot. So we can bring the kids back from the schools and do the anthem program. We can do the Timbits hockey intermission games. We can hopefully get our players into the schools to do some question and answer sessions, and playing floor hockey and basketball and volleyball, and getting involved in the community. There is going to be restrictions, but I think all of that, and Adam Dennis and the coaching staff, and they're all inside with that when it's safe to do so, and whatnot, because they know the importance of the players being involved in the community, and reaching out with our fans. And, knowing who Tom is, and knowing who Courtney Kenny is, and knowing who our season ticket holders are, and our longtime fans and whatnot. That's very important. And when you got a character in your team, like a guy like Ty Nelson, who wants to be a part of the community, is great with social media, comes to North Bay, has a picture up at North Bay Golf and Country Club, has a picture under the arches. He wants to be with our fans. And I think when it's all said and done, the fans want to be around a player like a Ty Nelson. They want to be around some of these other guys who really want to show their appreciation for the support they have here in North Bay.
So I wanted to ask, we asked how you got started with the Centennials. Can you take us through how you kind of got back in the game with the Battalion? I know you were, in between, obviously you were a little bit busy with some coffee chain, really, no name there, but anyways.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's Tim Hortons, of course, but well, it's Tim Hortons Day on November 14th coming up. So
there you go.
When I was gone from the Centennials, joining Tim Hortons head office, so I looked after Northern Ontario from a marketing standpoint with Tim Hortons, and it was awesome because I was dealing with the Sioux Greyhounds, and I was dealing with the Sudbury Wolves and the Cochrane Crunch and the North Bay Trappers, and North Bay Skyhawks, and Iroquois Falls Huskies, and the Timbits hockey programs and all of those regions. So I was still involved in hockey and still involved in promotions and marketing. So, it was a lot of fun for 14 years, but, I ended up with ironically Centennials for 14 years and left the organization, and then Tim Hortons for 14 years. And they were bought out by Warren Buffett and 3G, and 350 of us head office employees got laid off at one time. So, I was back out in the workforce and ended up working for M&M Food Market in Northern Ontario on the operations side with a bit of marketing, and that was fun. And kind of the job opening, kind of with the battalion was, I was a big fan, like I said to you before, when the Centennials left town, it kind of ripped the heart out of myself and our family and the community and whatnot. So my wife and I and the kids, we bought 4 season tickets in the first year. And I was with Tim Hortons head office suite with the battalion. So every 4th game we had the suite, for me to do it with franchisees or with Timmins hockey players or entertaining people up there. So, became a supporter of the battalion because, man, those first 3 years were unbelievable, right?
Yep.
It was unreal. So was a sponsor. And then, later on, I heard they were kind of looking for something, but I wasn't interested in leaving M&M Food Market. And, Mike Griffin and I had talked a couple of times and, and I said, well, let me know when you're ready and we'll talk. And, we talked for 3 or 4 months. And then I met with Mr. Abbott and we talked and, then met with Mike again. And after that, it was a no-brainer. My heart was in hockey. My heart was with OHL hockey in North Bay. I wanted to be a part of the battalion and I joined them and, we did some pretty cool things in that first year.
That you did. Now, I'm also curious, everybody's job's got something like, hey, I didn't know you did that, or I didn't know you could do that or whatnot. What's the little tidbit we don't know about the insides of marketing with the battalion?
Wow, that's catching me off guard. I don't know. Like, I'm a pretty fast typer. I can tell you that. I can type pretty.
Excellent.
I think you have to do that, but that was from going to, Canada and taking broadcasting and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing with this job is that, you got to be able to adapt and kind of roll with the punches as well. With the players, it's, it's peaks and valleys and whatnot. And when you win on that Sunday afternoon and you play at home on Thursday, man, that week is good because, you've come off a win and you're getting ready for Thursday. I think it's no different with us in the marketing as well. Is you want to see the team do well. You want the organization to be happy. You want to be in a good working environment. But having said that, at the same time, win or lose, I still have to work tomorrow, right? But it's you kind of feel for everybody, and the one thing about the organization in the last couple of years is everybody's on the same page. Everybody's working together. For the hockey is working with marketing, and marketing's working with hockey. We're getting together at functions. We're doing cross promotions together. It's such a great working environment, and I give that credit to Mike Griffin from the marketing side, from the marketing, the business side, and Adam Dennis on the hockey side as our general manager. They've brought everybody together, and they're really trying to make everybody feel a part of it. And I went to a meeting in the OHL a couple of years ago, and since I've talked to the kind of people here, and it's kind of like along the lines of like, what are you doing today to sell tickets? Like, what more can you do to sell one more ticket? Is it saying hi to a fan in the lobby? Is it reaching out to somebody in a group sale? Is it talking to somebody about you had season tickets a few years ago? Will you come back? Is it a player being in the community and talking hockey with a fan at the grocery store or at the gas pump? And, what are you doing to make it everybody feel special so they want to be around Memorial Gardens? They want to watch battalion hockey. So I think that's one of the things that, after a game the next day, we're talking in the office about the game the night before. And man, we've had a couple of exciting games at home where we've come back. It's ever nice to come to work the next day and say, hey, you see that goal last night by Brandon Coe? And you start talking about different things, or that those back-to-back glove hand saves by Dominic. I don't think we really did that before, but we're doing it now because of the way the shift in the organization has come across, that we're all in this together, and it sure is a lot better.
When it comes to the sales side of things, how much easier is it to sell a winning product compared to when the product isn't so much, doing well on the ice?
Well, I think it is probably, easier when the team is winning, and, everybody wants to be associated with a winner and whatnot. And that's reflected everywhere. Right. And I mean, from a standpoint, you got to look at it that, if the team is not winning, and we've had a couple of years where we struggle, then you have to work a little bit harder to make sure that, you can get the fans in the building, get the fan engagement in the building, and the excitement there and whatnot. So, I used to say all the time that maybe the best promotion in the world is a win. And I'm not sure that's always the case now. It certainly helps. But I think if you if the team is playing the right style of play, they're doing the right things in the community, the from the business side of hockey, we're doing the right things with the fans. I think they're going to want to be there anyway because they want to be a part of it.
Now you have we were talking about your promotions and stuff in the arena and everything. You do have one thing kind of going on that maybe hasn't really been fleshed out. Well, not fleshed out, but explained maybe. And at least to me, I'm kind of curious about it. This game of things that you have going on with the players. Can you explain what's going on there and what's happening?
Well, the game of things is a promotion that we're doing in our games right now with our fans on the video board and whatnot. And really, you know what? Everybody is connected to their phone, right? Everybody's connected with it, and you play it at the. And one of the things that you're doing is, you're having questions that are asked to the players, and the fans are guessing on their phone what player answered that question. So Game of Things have sold as a box game, has sold over 4 million copies. And now this is a digital version. It's completely local. Mark Sherry, who is just a brilliant guy, and his partner invented the game. It's sold on Amazon. It's sold at Walmart in the States. It's sold in Canada. And it's just a great game that now we're taking it to social media and digital media and now playing it at our games. We've got some bugs to work out. So when you said about maybe a lot of people don't know about it, you're absolutely right. At the beginning, like 60 some players were playing, and now it's 80 and 90, and now it's close to 200. And we're going to announce some new things between now and November 14th. That's going to have a progressive jackpot where people can win cash by taking part. If you get a perfect score, there's prizes to be won as well. We're going to make sure that the players understand what we're trying to do, and Mark and I are going to meet with them later on and say, here's an opportunity for you to use your creativeness and get your personality out there. And the question would be, what is the goaltender thinking while the puck is in the other end? Or what's the worst thing or the worst smell in the Battalion dressing room? You know what I mean? And you can bring it out, and you can't make it, too graphic or whatnot, but it's going to give our players an opportunity to get their personality out there, and an opportunity for our fans to know what these players are all about. So we're looking for some big things from the Game of Things, and it's going to be even more exciting for our fans. And we're going to have some, like I said, new announcements between now and November 14th.
Well, I'm pretty excited to see more about it because I do enjoy watching the video board during the intermissions, because I'm not really doing anything during the intermissions, which is a different world for me right now. So it's nice to look up on the video board. And I think Joe Verbetic put what's one of the best things about playing for the Battalion, it was playing in front of North Bay's fans or something. So he's trying to pull at the heartstrings of all the seventh man there.
Well, yeah. And I mean, we give the questions to the players, and they have 3 answers. Some of them are pretty funny. Some of them you can't use, and some of them you could tell they've really thought about it. So, we're trying to make sure that we're getting some stuff in there that's funny, but we're also at the same time, trying to get the players' personalities out there. It's been a lot of fun. And I think as the season goes along and Wi-Fi becomes more readily available at North Bay Memorial Gardens, it's going to be a lot better promotion. And it's going to be another opportunity that we're connecting with our fans.
Well, Johnny Mac, we really appreciate the time as always, and I'm sure it won't be nearly as long until we get you on the second time. I promise you that.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, and I think it's as we're trying to do it at the hockey games and in the community, connecting with the fans. Man, you guys are doing an absolutely great job, and we hear so many comments on it. So keep up the great work. Thank you very much for having me here, and I look forward to coming back.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, we got to say a huge thank you to the Senior Director of Marketing and Business Development with your North Bay Battalion, Johnny Mac, John McLellan, making his first appearance on the show. A busy man, important guy with the team. And let's talk about the team. We tend to do that sometimes. So let's talk about them. Wrapping up the last 3 games, a Hamilton and 2 in the Sioux. And we'll start with Hamilton, Courtney, a home game where, I got to be honest, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, and turns out get a big win for that one. Dom DiVincentis' first OHL win. So congratulations to Dom.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Dom. You will be hearing here on the podcast, you would have heard it by now, actually, because I did get audio of Dom after that game. So you will have heard Dom talking about it. But the way that we're recording this, I didn't think about it. So there's some insight into how the podcast is done. Anyways, yeah, so Dom DiVincentis, getting his first career OHL victory. He looked stellar in that game. Oh my goodness. There were some times, and that's the thing with this Battalion team is they're learning on the fly. A lot of these kids, that should be second-year players, a lot of them are learning on the fly. So they're never going to be defensive darlings, at least through the first half of the season, until they figure things out. We've heard Ryan Houlihan say the same thing, that, it's going to take some time before systems and everything get kicked, all the kinks get worked out. And Dom and Joe at times have had to really stand on their heads for this team. And Dom did against Hamilton. And it was a big deal because Hamilton came into the game undefeated and they were ranked 7th in Canada. And yeah, the team looked maybe for about 5-10 minutes in the second, they kind of dipped a little bit where Hamilton got the 2 goals. But other than that, that's probably the most complete game I've seen them play this year. And it was fantastic. I got to be honest, on the broadcast, my bias came out a little bit. There was a moment where Brandon Coe looked to have tied the game. The puck was sitting behind Constantini, the Bulldogs goaltender, and he didn't know where it was. And Coe came and got it, but the ref had blown the whistle. And I was getting a little bit upset on the broadcast because it seemed like a quick goal. But then Kyle Jackson came and tied it up shortly thereafter. And then they got another one real quick after that from Mitch Russell, who's been found money this year. I mean, oh my goodness, he's been hot to start. And then Liam Arnsby getting the empty netter at the end.
I mean, that's all it takes. That could have swing the whole game. And I've been there. I've been there when it comes to being biased at a game. As much as I was a fan when I was calling games, there was only 3 games I can remember where I was truly like emotionally invested. 2 against Peterborough and 1 against Erie at the time. And 2 of those came on the very disappointing end, and it totally affects everything you do after. You're like, oh, they scored. Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks.
100%. I'm shocked you didn't mention the Kitchener one with the goal.
I wasn't emotionally invested into that one. That was just a really weird event.
Yeah.
Like they got completely ripped off on that one. No, the other game against one was in Peterborough where they were up 3-0, and I thought, boy, what a great win. The next game was against Peterborough in town, I think, but I forget why I was so invested. And then the game against Erie where they were like number 1 in the country because they were just coming off McDavid and they had all of the good players, and they beat them 2-1 in overtime. The Battalion did. Yep. And I got really, really, really into that game.
Well, I mean,
a little too into it.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, right? But it is what it is. But moving on away from our bias a little bit and into your backyard, the Battalion went there for 2 back to, which is a weird schedule. Yeah. Obviously COVID and stuff impacting that, but yeah, so the Battalion, no rest for the wicked on the road to the Sioux. And I'm not sure if you took in that game, but I know you took in the Saturday game.
No, went to both, and they were. The first one was interesting. Felt like I went to an all-star game at first. What was the final, 8-5? Yeah. David Santos did not look so sharp in that game, but the whole team didn't. And if you've never done the drive from North Bay to the Sioux, it sucks. It just hands down, it sucks. It feels like forever. And there's 800 little tiny towns on the way. There's a bunch of stops. And it feels longer than a trip to Ottawa. It feels way longer than a trip even to Niagara, which is actually about the same distance in that bus. Yep. So it just, for whatever reason, just drains you, especially with that afternoon sun getting low. But hey, they came back 5. They were down 5-2 and tied the game at 5, which that was impressive. And then the legs just ran out of them in the third period. They just didn't have it. And then it was a completely different team when they were rested on the next night. I mean, They won handily. Like, I know it was 4-2, I believe, the final. Yeah. But they controlled that game from start to finish. And Joe was solid. He is a larger human being than you could possibly imagine if you haven't been to a game. It's like someone put a plywood board in front of the net sometimes. He just looks so large. And I had brought father-in-law to his first OHL game the second night, and he was loving every second of it. And we were sitting in one of the corners, so Joe was right in front of us the second game, right there. He's like, Jesus, he's huge. And
he's not wrong.
Yes, he is quite the large kid. So I can't imagine playing against him. What it even looked like to even take a shot, but they controlled that game so well. Like, it was a totally different team. The Sioux one line could get it going a little bit, but after that, like it wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. The
Yeah,
Battalion's depth is what brought him that win.
I was
Three,
gonna.
four solid lines.
Oh, absolutely. And I watched the game on TV. It was actually, according to the broadcasters, it was the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds versus the North Bay Centennials at the very beginning of that broadcast. North Bay's only been here for 8 seasons now, but
Oh God.
anyways, yeah, that top line got a lot of love, of course, on the broadcast, and rightfully so for the Greyhounds. That Rory Cairns and Ty Cartier and Cole McKay. I mean, I think Cairns made the team of the week with like 15 points in like 3 games. Like that's
He had two,
insane.
I think like a 5-point, a 6 game, and like a 4-point game this week, which is insane, but that's telling you where all the goals are coming from one team. So
yeah. Well, getting I gotta ask about I can never get his name right. Bryce McConnell Barker or whatever. The big name. The big look at that. The big gun for the Greyhounds, the rookie coming in. What does he look like in person? Because the Greyhounds haven't made it to North Bay yet.
The first game he was very present, and he got some looks on the top line too later in the game. Very present, big on the forecheck, didn't quit on anything, no matter the score. But in that second game, he disappeared. The whole team did. Really, like nobody could get anything going. It was, when you start to watch a game when they try and do long passes and breakouts with lifting the puck out or banking off the boards, your team's in trouble when that's going on.
Yeah.
And it was like that from the start. Like they just couldn't get anything going. So
I can't remember who the name of the goalie who started the second game, but he did not have it. Yeah, he did not.
Oh, Ivanov started the first game and then finished the second, and Schenkel the Battalion took 4 shots in the period, 1 hit the post and 2 went in.
Yeah, he did not have it. That's for sure.
It was not that kid's night.
No, poor kid. But yeah, no, hey, the Battalion will take 4 points out of 6 possible points, especially going into a place like the Sioux, where I don't care if the Sioux is one of the worst teams in the league. That building is intimidating to go into because of A, the fan support in the city, and B, the Sioux usually, even if they're not a great team, play a good, they're competitive.
That they are. And the fans, and the bus ride. But the fans, they were plenty. It was like 3,000 and change both nights, and it was packed. There was some sections where you could sit by yourself if you wanted to, but it's tough being a Battalion fan in the Sioux. Like you stand out like such a sore thumb because everything's red and white, right? And all of a sudden there's some weird green.
Yeah.
I had my T-shirts on. I had my Battalion T-shirts on. So and then like the one is this, like when they're scoring, this one idiot doing a golf clap in the corner, and that was me. Like, okay, who invited him?
Yeah,
I invited myself.
It's a public arena, guys. So coming out of it, who'd the father-in-law cheer for? Because that's a big. We need to know that.
He clapped for everybody. He just had fun. He didn't care.
Just having a good time.
He was having a great time.
So then that kind of answers my next question. How much of a impression was the OHL game on him?
Well, he's got a QMJHL team where he is the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. Yeah. So he's been to a few games, but he liked it. The building back home for him is about the same capacity as the one it is here, similar shape and size. So it's nothing he hadn't seen before, but he was just happy to take it in. Love sports.
Oh, absolutely.
And, hey, knock that one off the bucket list.
So whenever I go to a new city, there's 2 things that I really like to do. I like to go and visit or watch a sporting event in said city's sporting rink, even though I've been there before, which is what I like to do when I go to the Sioux. And I thank goodness the person I go to the Sioux to see likes hockey.
Who is he and where do you find him?
Yeah, gonna go bust some kneecaps there.
I'm saying.
And the other thing that I like to do, weirdly enough, is I like to explore and visit movie theaters of other towns. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I worked at a movie theater and I'm just a big cinephile. But yeah, those are the 2 things: that movies and rinks and stuff like that. So going to the Greyhounds barn is great. I'm going to be going to Barrie this weekend, which I've never been to. I'm pretty excited about that.
Underwhelming. You can't walk around the whole arena at once.
No, that's a shame.
And the luxury suites are ice level. It's really weird.
That is weird. But I'm finally going to get to see. I keep hearing Matt talk about the story of the fans and him getting. I'm going to finally get to see. Like I'm going to take a selfie in that spot and be like, "Look, man, I'm getting into it with the fans or something."
Bring a coat because that particular spot has a hole in the industrial door, which is directly outside, and there's a breeze, something fierce that goes through there. So bring a coat.
Looking forward to that. But anyways, no, I'm glad you got into your first two battalion games this year. And overall takeaway, you saw a win and a loss, but overall takeaways from Tom Parisi.
Holy crap! Can Ty Nelson skate? And I think he got a. Did he get goals in both games? I know he had points in both games.
Good question.
When I was there, he had a goal in the second game because it happened right in front of me. Like if there was no boards, the puck would have hit me.
Yep.
And he looked outstanding. Owen Outwater had his first OHL goal. So did Michael Potaluch. And I feel like somebody else may have, but at least those two.
Tanias Mathurin.
And Tanias, yes. His was just a quick. His was right time, right place. Outwaters was a wicked shot, and Potaluch finished off a great passing play. And I was very impressed by how, first of all, the way the lines were crafted, how they looked, who played with who.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like everybody fit fairly well together. The fourth line had some in and outs. I think Romani played the second night, Sema played the first, and Govro didn't make an appearance in the afternoon. But I was always impressed, one, how hard Leon Armsby can hit. I hadn't seen it in person yet, and that looked like a freight train gone off the rails into the bush. And then both Christopouloses made incredible runs at one point during the game. And something else. Obviously, the goaltending, Joe just looked untouchable. Even the 2 goals against him were meh. Not much he could do, but I mean, jumping Jack Flash, if he grows any more, just might as well. He looks like it's like when a big kid plays shinny with a little kid, and they take up the whole net. Is what I'm saying. But overall, the depth was impressive. Everybody seemed to fit well. Even the imports looked solid. Petrov had some points, I think 3 or 4 points in the 2 games. And no, I like the way everything's going.
Excellent. Love hearing that, especially when I couldn't take in the Friday game, but I did watch the Saturday game. And it's always better to have somebody in the rink with their own eyes looking at it than someone who's watching it through TV, for sure. So I'm glad you got out to a game. It's good. Because now you know.
It was a bit of luck. Like I was just able to get to it. The second one we weren't actually gonna go because we thought it was in North Bay. All things considered, and then like, oh yeah, you want to go? Yeah, we can go. And the first one was like, well, the missus is not doing so hot. She's down for the count, so me and the stepdad can't just sit home and watch Big Bang Theory all night. So, let's go catch a hockey game. And I remembered, I was like, wait a minute, this is a great night to catch a hockey game.
Yeah,
who's in town?
Worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I got a little bit of luck.
Absolutely, and a little bit of help from Mr. Morin, from what I've heard too. So hey,
he's a good guy.
Always got to give Yogi a bit of a shout out. So this week, troops are taking on the Oshawa Generals. Callum Ritchie, one of the hottest rookies in the league right now. And then Barry, and that's going to be the last home game. You've heard Johnny Mack say it, last home game until November 14th. So if you want to see the troops, get out there and see them on Thursday, because they're not going to be here for a couple of weeks. And then I think it's only 3 home games in November. So
yeah, I think we counted, didn't we? You and I counted, it was like only like a dozen or 13 games in the first half of the season are at home.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, it's like a loaded back end.
Yeah, exactly. And then this week, they will be in Barrie, or this weekend they'll be in Barrie, and they'll be playing the Sudbury Wolves. So if you do want to catch the Battalion, Barrie and Sudbury is not too far to go. Sudbury, of course, only the hour-and-a-half drive. And I personally like the ambience and feeling of that rink. A lot of people look at that rink and go, ew, but I'm excited. I'm gonna take in both those games on the road, and I'm excited to go. So
excellent.
It's gonna be a busy week/weekend for the Battalion. And we're expecting some big things. And if they play the way they did when you saw them, Tom, it might be a very exciting weekend as well.
Hey, they can play the most boring road games in the world and win, and I could care less.
That's
I
fair.
could care less
2 points is 2 points.
that it is.
Well, that's great. So yeah, Dom DiVincentis with his first OHL win. You would have heard the audio here. Tom Parisi coming back and interviewing Johnny Mac with a vengeance. So I always appreciate you being around, Tom.
Oh, I didn't mind doing it with a vengeance. Felt well, in the spirit of Halloween, I got to dress up as Batman for interviewing people. Maybe I
Yeah.
should.
I'm Batman.
Yes.
Did you see the new trailer for the Batman movie?
I did. I'm on it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the
I'm
Kid
pretty
Crusader.
hyped. I'm pretty hyped. So
I've been disappointed far too many times with the Dark Knight, so
that's fair.
I need to get back to some like Christopher Nolan stuff. Even the later Nolan stuff. That last movie was meh.
Which one was the last
With
Nolan
Bane.
movie? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like in general Nolan movies, but yeah, no, okay.
Oh,
I
no,
don't
he's
mind
got
Dark
two.
Knight Rises, but
No, I like it, but I need to be like, this can't really happen. I need to be in one of those moods.
yeah, that's fair. You need to suspend belief for that one. For
Check
sure.
my brain at the door and just let
Yeah.
it coast.
But I mean, the thing is if the okay, now we're on into something. We're wrapping up the show, and here we are on Batman. If
We'll
it
be
had gone
quick.
yeah, real quick. If it had gone Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. But the problem is the Dark Knight Rises had to come after the Dark Knight. And that's the problem is you couldn't ever hope to top Heath Ledger. You couldn't ever hope to top what is arguably the greatest comic book movie of all time. So
Or even villain. Like,
yeah, exactly.
tough to beat the Joker. I totally agree.
Yeah.
On that note, before we get even further off topic, if you're watching this on your TV, you can watch the full episodes on YouTube. Check them out. Johnny Mac was talking about it early in the episode. So if you skipped ahead, go back and listen. Also, if you find us, if you're listening, obviously you can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcast, all social media related to the Battalion, our own. And we can always say a big thank you to Ben, our intrepid producer, Ben, for making sure we sound as epic or as good as he feels like making us sound that particular day. He's Courtney Kenny. I'm Tom Parisi. This was a lot of fun. And as always, we're going to do it again sometime.